Inequity?
It's not inequity.
Inaccuracy.
No, it's between the two. Anyway, now
What does it mean?
it's basically where there's not you're not
Discrepancy?
no, it's not when you're adequate. Inadequacy.
Inadequacy.
But it wasn't all the words, all the letters weren't saying hello to each other. Some were like, I'm not meeting up. They were out to coffee. Everybody didn't want to show up for work today. So it's inadequacy. Because I was saying inequity.
I was trying to help you.
And that's why I say it's between the two. One was after lunch. Somebody went to go grab coffee. Everybody's back at work today. Inadequacy.
Welcome back to Thoughts in a Glass podcast. I'm Latoya.
And I'm Kendra.
And this is a weekly podcast where we share our raw, unfiltered thoughts on a variety of topics.
Yes, so grab your favorite drink, sit back, relax, and join us on a journey of real, raw, and ridiculously funny. You said it. Commentary.
That was cute. If you're new here, every week we do a drink of the night. So Kendra, what's our drink tonight?
So tonight, as you guys heard us talk about in the last episode, we had a Friendsgiving. So one of the friends, instead of cooking, because you always needed an adult beverage,
right,
she brought a plethora of wines. Mm-hmm. So tonight we're going to be drinking the Minuty M Rosé from France.
Okay.
Frenchy French. It is one of the best-selling wines in France and New York last year. So I'm gonna read a little snippet. Probably won't read a lot of it, but it's from a province in France. It was streamlined in 2014, but invented and designed back in the 60s.
Oh wow!
By Monique. Fernet.
Okay.
This revolutionary bottle shape was then adopted by the whole region. It's super cute and very, very robust lady. And shows how Maton Farnat, I'm saying this with a low accent because it might be Frenchy, family has always been a major player in the Provence wines. Finally, pure Minuty, so emblematic, is a survey of Minuty style where aromatic intensity mingles with lightness on the palate.
Okay.
So,
well, cheers.
It gives... I can taste strawberries. I can taste the strawberry.
I don't know if it's strawberry that I'm tasting, but it is definitely a fruity rosé.
I taste strawberries.
Yeah, it's a fruity rosé.
A fan of it.
And it's very refreshing.
Yes,
it's crisp. It's light. It's refreshing.
Crisp.
Yeah.
It's very crisp. So yeah, so if you...
I can sip on that.
And it's not sweet.
It's not
it's
sweet.
It's a very I ain't even gonna call it semi. It's a very... It's not as brute as a
like champagne or what?
No, like a not a is that a Sauvignon Blanc?
Okay.
It's not that, but it's definitely not even as sweet as what we had the other week.
That pear.
Yeah, it's not that.
That was
sweet
more
either.
like that more so reminded me of a Riesling.
Yeah. So, but this is tasty.
Yeah, it's good. It's very It's like it's very refreshing. It
like
doesn't, sometimes when you have wines that are too sweet, it kind of leaves like a little
film
stickiness in your mouth. This doesn't do that.
Yeah.
But it's like fruity. So, yeah, it doesn't have that sharpness. It's fruity. I like it. Tasty. Yeah.
What we've been having going on? I think last week was so busy.
Yeah.
That it's just been a real mellow esque week. Outside of me getting my shit together for us to leave. Mm-hmm. I've ordered. So we're also going after Christmas. Before Christmas, we're going to New York. Went and did some shopping for
Christmas. No,
I went and did shopping for PA. So we're getting the Jaylee sweatshirt, stuff like that.
Got it. Mm-hmm.
I got everybody like the face, like the Scullies, but it's not real Scullies, but it has the thing that comes up here, and you can pull it down for New York and PA. Mm-hmm. Trying to decide if we're doing the skiing.
Okay.
Are we getting tickets for that? So going through that, we just ordered the turkey. It's a lot of shit to do. I spent a lot of money today.
Yeah. It's like you've been spending a lot of money. I've been trying not to spend money, but still having to spend it anyway.
That's the trip.
Mm-hmm. I didn't get into much this week. I haven't been watching TV. I haven't even really been reading, which is crazy. Or listening to my audiobooks, which is crazy. A whole lot going on.
Such is life.
It's
going to be a time where it's going to be so busy that it's too much to talk about, but not a lot to talk about.
That's true.
Not going to be, unless something crazy happens, it's just going to be very calm.
You know what? Let's do this. Let's take it in this direction. So, last week we talked about the holidays and all of that. Mm-hmm. This week we're going to shift gears a little bit because it's what it is. Y'all going to cook or y'all not going to cook. Y'all going to go to people's house. Y'all going to eat. Y'all gonna put up y'all Christmas decorations. Oh, that's what you wanted to talk about.
Yes.
Are you do you decorate? So we can ask that question. Let's just get that out the way. Do you decorate immediately after Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving? Like, at what point do you put your Christmas tree up?
So, if I hadn't been as busy as I was, especially like this weekend with Friendsgiving and doing all of the things prior to, I would have put my Christmas tree. Well, I'm not even gonna say that part because it was also with like stuff happening, having to have the people come out for the garbage disposal. Running the Lowe's to get a new screen door. Like if I wasn't doing all of the regular stuff, my stuff would have been up the weekend after Halloween. I do have already. I did put up my Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays mat outside. Okay. That's been up for the last like 2 weeks.
Okay.
So now I bought a Minnie and Mickey Mouse blow up. That's about to go up. Everything's going to be up before Thanksgiving.
Before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So if I have the opportunity, if I haven't put it up while this is being recorded, it's going up while y'all are watching this.
Got it.
So it's going to be up before Thanksgiving.
I like fall. I'm gonna let fall have her moment type of person. So my Halloween and fall decor go together. So I just feel like let fall have her moment.
You know, fall is not over until the 23rd of December.
Well, okay. I'm right after Thanksgiving. Like, after we've eaten and everything.
That's when your Mariah Carey says it's time.
Yes. After we've eaten, after the football game has gone off, everybody's sitting around. We done played games, and now it's like, well, what we gonna do? It's time! So then, from Thanksgiving night until that weekend after Thanksgiving is when I put all my Christmas decorations out.
This is the thing I've realized, like, after Thanksgiving, it's so freaking cold. You may get a sparse, like, middle of the day where it's a little bit warm, but you more often than not you're at work. And I just don't want to be out in the cold because no one wants to help.
That's true.
And then everything don't get put up like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Because don't nobody else want to help.
Honestly, the last couple years, I haven't even really decorated my house like to the full. Like I haven't used all of my decorations for that very reason, because nobody has been wanting to help me put everything out, and they don't want to help me put it up.
Pack it up. Yeah.
So I just been like, well, fine, y'all. We'll just put up a tree, and I put up a pop-up tree. So we'll just have our pop-up tree, and like yeah, because don't look for me to do everything.
Right.
Like, no, y'all need to help me.
And I think so I know this year for me, I mean, I've always done like stuff, and like each year I add a little bit more. So this year I did add Minnie and Mickey, because that's Joshua's favorite cartoon right now. And then I have a tree on the side of my house. We just bought a ladder, so I'm actually going to be able to decorate that, and then decorate around put a garland on my walkway.
Like around the
where the door is, I have a awning, and I can decorate that. And so I would like to do hanging things. So anyway, all of those things are up at this point, if I have anything to do with it.
One year, I think I'm going to pay for professional decorator.
Now, you do that, you have to reach out to them in August.
Oh, you do? I'm glad you told me that, because I didn't know that.
They stop in September.
I want to do that one year. I want to just have them come and do it.
And do all the things.
Because I think if somebody else comes and does it, I can enjoy it, but also I can, like, if you came in and decorated the house, I can get a vision for a different way of doing things, because I am so used to where I would put the tree, where I would put the garland. So then if somebody else comes and they're like, oh, you can do this or you can do that, and I'm like, oh, I would have never thought of that. So even if they just did it one time, it would give me ideas that I could see how they did it and replicate it in the future. Maybe not to their extent, but like, maybe I'll do that next year, and maybe I'll have something here. We used to have, so the first 5 years that we were here in this house, we used to have a party. And when I say a big Christmas party, and what we would do is nobody would bring nothing. We would cater the food. We would buy all the alcohol, and we would just have a big ass party. We would invite not anybody, because my husband, But as long as we knew you could come, we would say like, that was our gift to our friends. Like, we ain't doing a whole bunch of buying people anything. Come to the party and eat to your heart's delight. Drink up all the liquor that you want to drink. And that's what you get from the Bruces. But we stopped doing it during COVID. And we ain't done it since.
COVID said, shut yourself down.
Yep, we stopped doing it when COVID hit, and we haven't done it since.
COVID stopped a lot of things.
And even by the time COVID happened, we were slowing down on it. Like, we would have maybe started doing it like every other year, as opposed to like every year. But we didn't do it at all from like, when did COVID happen?
2020.
So we haven't done it since then, literally, which is interesting. Now that I think back on it, that's when we stopped doing it.
We do, like I said, last episode, my parents do a Christmas breakfast. And so my mother, a couple days before Thanksgiving, the tree is up. So that when we have Thanksgiving breakfast, Thanksgiving dinner, she doesn't light it until that day, though.
So my aunt does that. She puts the tree up, but then she won't decorate it until that night. Well, y'all get down in the comments and tell us when you start decorating.
Are you right after Halloween? Are you in the midst, in between Halloween and Thanksgiving? Are you Thanksgiving Day, or are you after Thanksgiving?
Yeah, there have been some times where I didn't put that tree up until like maybe like the first week of December, just because I'm the only one. You know what I'm saying? They don't be helping me.
We don't get enough. We don't get that. For all that we put into it, we don't get enough. It's the length of it isn't long enough.
Maybe I need to have like a decorating party where like I have my friends come over and help me. Because between my husband, my stepdaughter, and my brother, they don't care. They're like, oh, you putting the tree up? Cool.
I wonder what they would feel like if you didn't do anything.
They would not care. It would be another day for them. And so my stepdaughter, she goes to her mom's house. You know what I'm saying? She goes to her mom's family's house for the holidays. So I think for her, she gets her Christmas and all of that over there, so she don't be tripping if we don't do nothing over here. And then the other two are guys, so it be just me.
My kids be like, When are we putting up the?
So then I think it'd be different probably if it was little kids here, but like.
So it's like I want to surprise him one day, and when he and Jonathan when they come home, it's be like it's decked out, deck the halls.
Oh, I think they'll love that. I'm gonna tell you a funny story that we can move on from this. One time I'm at my aunt's house and we're decorating and her boys are helping us and they were a little younger at this time. So I asked her middle son he was like, what can I do to help? I said, go get the Christmas tree skirt and put it around the Christmas tree, right? So he's like, so he does it real quick and then he comes back and he's like, I'm done. So I go to look at it. He took the fabric and wrapped it around the bottom part of the tree
to cover up the little cheeks.
Not on the floor, around the bottom part to put a skirt on the tree. And he really thought he did that.
He listen, because he made you didn't. That's what makes sense.
And when I was like, you've never seen us do that before.
But that's where it belongs because those are her legs.
And he said, well, you said wrap it around the tree. I said, I should have said around the base of the tree on the floor. Yes. He's like, well, you said it was a skirt and you said wrap it around the tree.
I told you what I said. Them stems are its legs. Let me put on her skirt.
He really thought he ate that. I put that skirt on that tree.
And what you gonna do?
I thought that was cute. And I think this was maybe like 4 years or 5 years ago. So he may have been like 6, 7. So like he really, it was genuine. He was just like,
you know what I'm gonna try, and maybe I have time. Well, I mean, I got until all December. I have been seeing the barrel type of so it really covers up that stem. Maybe I'll add that to my tree. Anyway,
I've been seeing those too. They actually had them on sale at Michael's.
I love Michael's. Anyway,
so all right, this is what I wanted to get into. Okay, so
we're into it.
When we were doing Friendsgiving, we was telling y'all we was having a bunch of good conversation, and one of the topics of conversation it was like dating because we've got some single friends, on both sides, right, males and females, and so we're talking about dating. We're talking about hooking people up and all of the things, and so. One of the things that we acknowledged or we found out was that what women think men find attractive is completely different than what men actually find attractive. So I'll give y'all some background. So I was playing matchmaker trying to like hook some people up, and Kendra and I were getting some photos of the woman to show the men, and his homeboy was looking at the pictures too to see like if his friend would be cool with it. So we thinking, oh, we gonna show you this picture because she looks good, her makeup's nice, her hair is nice, everything. And he like, oh, that's all right. So then he looks through her photos on her social media and he starts picking out pictures that we were like, no, that ain't what we would think. Like, granted, the woman's not bad looking at all, but how we all have those pictures where like, everything is in place versus you got that one picture where you look cute, but maybe your edges ain't laid down. Right. Or certain things that like, as women we look at,
smiling, or
certain things we look at, clearly their lens is totally different because I was so surprised when he was like, you should have showed me this picture first. I'm like, really?
Yeah. And the thing is, so here's the other problem. And the person, so my significant other is the one that's helping to match the matches. And so the conversation that we had here was like, because I had said to him, hey, even if you don't think this is his type, go ahead and still show him because you just never know.
Right.
And he's like, I think I know his type. So we're having this whole conversation. We're talking about what men are looking for, but how they should meet. Because his old significant other resembles but it was like, well, how did they meet? Right. And it was kind of like, oh, they met because they were just cool. He started to like her personality, so then she became the exception to his rule.
Right.
So first I'll say that, so for me to get more clarity because we had the conversation.
You had to ask more questions.
I had to ask more questions. So in the car, I've realized that I'm the exception to his rule. Right?
Interesting.
And so I was like, this is what I said to him. I said, if people met you during your last relationship, they would think that you didn't date black women.
Right.
So if they showed you a picture of me, if my friend showed them a picture saying, "Oh, what is your homeboy?" We're like, "Nah, he don't date."
Right. Because and then he completely missed out on the opportunity because they going based off of
what they knew within that time. I said, but from your mouth, us meeting years ago, I'm exactly your type. And that's why we didn't talk, because it's like, oh, I'd have got you pregnant. Like, I would have cheated on her. I would have this, da, 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 da.
So technically, she
might be
was
the exception to
Yeah.
the actual. And so I said, like, I'm looking at him and I'm like, he's not my exception. Like, he is my type.
Right.
So if somebody showed, oh, I can see her kind of thing. So I'm like, you may know him from
this period that he's in.
And not before.
Right.
And so he was like, that could be true too. So I said, that's why you still present. Right. Because the hard part is, even for like me and him, I may not have been, and I'll say this, I was his exception because I already had children. I'm a little older than him.
But we just talking on physical.
So, but even with that, even physically, yes, his entire type. He said she's physically his type. But then he also then went into
the job.
She's a little older than him. That is also what he said.
Right. And I get that.
And I also like, you're viewing her from your lens.
That is true.
And so what you may say, I've seen him, he's shown me some people. It was like, oh, this person, I'd be like, who's attractive?
But so that's my whole thing, because I have experienced that too, where like I'm talking to my husband and I'm like, show me like, what you think is attractive. And when he shows me, I'm like,
where?
What do y'all be looking at? And he always tells me, for him, it's about the package. Like, everything may not be perfect, but if the whole package works, then that will appeal to him. And I'm like, I can understand that, but then when I'm looking at the package, I'm like, now it's several things off with this.
It's very much so. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
It really is.
Because I'd be like,
it really is. And I ain't trying to come for nobody.
That's the thing. I am on some people's radar a 10, somebody else. It just depends on where you are. And then also what raises and brings down. You could be a 10, but your attitude is a 1, so you're a 5. You could be a 4 and your attitude's a 11, so now that makes you a 9. Like, it is about the full package. Because dudes will say they want something, and when they get it and she dumb as a box of rocks, or her attitude is funky, or she's getting more attention than he wants her to get, all of a sudden she's a problem.
So that happened in real time. So I'll say this, which I don't think he minds me saying this, but I don't know if you remember Esther Baxter. She was a video vixen back in the day. She was in Mystical's video, Been So Long. Okay, so that used to be his like celebrity crush. He was in love with Esther Baxter, right? Well, then he saw a interview of her where she was being interviewed and she was talking, and she's Southern and she had a bit of an accent, and you could tell, and this was back in the day, but you could tell the way she was answering the questions that maybe she wasn't too knowledgeable on the topic. And once he saw that, I'm not gonna say the girl was dumb, but like,
she wasn't using all of her.
And once he saw that, it was like an instant turn off. And so, to your point where like you can be checking all the boxes, but then that one thing now makes you unattractive to somebody. I literally saw that happen. Like, you was so pressed for this girl,
and then she said one little.
You seen her do the interview, and she like, I don't know, and you just was like,
"You big dummy."
Dang,
you big dummy. That's how it would be. And so, in the midst of this conversation, we also talked about like, I should have been writing stuff down.
You should have been,
because I was also drinking. But your neighbor brought up some points where she was talking about her husband and dynamic
Right.
and how she's older than him, and the women that he used to date were a lot younger. Because we talked about one of the guys that we know that's single, and our impression is that he's immature. And so then we see the type of women that he deals with, and they're even more so immature. And so Latoya brought up a good point of saying, well, he needs somebody that's in their early 20s, mid to early 20s, but he's in his late 30s. And so I'm like, it's not that in my opinion, he's not necessarily immature. It's the way that he communicates is very direct. And a lot of times we use that as, oh, you just too immature, you don't know how to frame things,
you don't know how to talk to
so
people,
that you can right, you don't know how to use your words to talk to people to make, to get your point across without making somebody feel a certain kind of way.
Right.
We use immaturity as, oh, that child going to say whatever they want to say because kids is going to be honest, right? And it's cool because they kids. And we take that when an adult does it, it's like they are so immature that they just be saying anything out their mouth without without the social cues or having consideration of other people's feelings.
Right.
And so with that doesn't mean, and so one of the things that we've realized is that the person will rise to whatever occasion when they have somebody that they want to rise up for. And so, because I was like, well, he needs somebody that's going to do the things and give him, tell him how to be and this, that, and the fourth. And it's like, people will quickly change, and you don't have to really say anything because if they feel that there's an inequity. It's not inequity.
Inaccuracy.
No, it's between the two. Anyway, now
what does it mean?
It's basically where you're not
discrepancy.
No, it's not when you're adequate. Inadequacy. But it wasn't all the words, all the letters weren't saying hello to each other. Some were like, I'm not meeting up. They were out to coffee. Everybody didn't want to show up for work today. So it's inadequacy. Because I was saying inequity.
I was trying to help you.
And that's why I say it's between the two. One was after lunch. Somebody went to go grab coffee. Everybody's back at work today. Inadequacy. So when you know your own inadequacies, then you'll be like, oh, you can spot them, right? And so the other thing was that he needs to learn about himself, and like, okay, you know what, this is not what I'm doing right. I should be a little bit more ahead in this. I need to be able to verbalize what I'm trying to say without being so blunt and direct and blah, blah, blah. You only learn that by, as Latoya said, being in a relationship, because you need somebody to tell you, like, you are your own yes person, so everything that you say makes the most sense.
Exactly.
Because you can make it rational in your own mind.
And there's nobody there to challenge you.
And so, but the issue sometimes is at 39 years old, meeting someone at that same spot, most women have gone through this before. Yeah. And it's so exhausting.
That's why I said he need to be with somebody younger, but y'all were like, she shouldn't have to deal with that. And I agree, but I just feel like nobody within his age range is going to like, those women are already so tired. They're not going to want to deal with it.
Yeah, but I'm not going to say that. Maybe someone maybe early 30s. And I say that only because
maybe early 30s.
There's a little bit more experience. Yeah. Because they can talk to what he is going through. At 23, he's lived a life. Yeah. Because I'm thinking now, Janae she's 18. I'm 28. So if you're saying early 20s, I mean, not 28, 38. So by the time I'm 40, she'll be 20. Right. So Janae ain't got nothing to talk to nobody about at 20 years old. There's no experience. Yeah. Maybe at 32, 33, now we can have a little bit more of a conversation, because I've had my job for a minute. I may have bought a home. I've done some traveling. I've seen some things. So now we can have a conversation. But it will have to be with someone who has not gone through the cycles of, I'm over it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who is not so, at this point, I'll just take him so that I can have a baby, so I can have a man, so I can have a this. But someone's like, I want to find my perfect match.
Yeah.
And that wants to still put the work in.
Yeah.
But on that other hand is, if you don't know before you meet that person that you have some work to do, the time that it's going to take for you to get to the realization I got work to do, that could be 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's a taxing 5 years for somebody.
It's hard to come to the realization of that you have work to do when you are single. Because like we said before, nobody's challenging you. You're in your own bubble and you're okay with everything.
But this is the thing that I only disagree because there are a lot of single people that realize I'm single for a reason and things aren't working out for a reason. And so I
do agree with that.
You know what? Let me go to therapy. And maybe I don't think anything's wrong, but if you recognize, I don't think nothing's wrong with me, but there has to be a reason that these relationships aren't lasting.
I guess it goes back to what we were saying before, immaturity, because to me, that comes with a level of self-awareness.
That's what I'm saying. So he needs to learn some things about himself to say, you know what, if his long-term relationship isn't working and let me go and maybe talk to somebody that doesn't have a dog in my fight, that just wants to help me to have some revelations about myself. And that's just, you could be single and still feel like, okay, something, I cannot be perfect.
Right.
And I think that if we all kind of came at this that way and did the work, there wouldn't be so many heartbroken men and heartbroken women, because they wouldn't be trying to fix something or trying to help you have a realization that you have some things wrong, and in the midst of it being beat up on
I totally agree.
So, like I said, so we had a masterful conversation.
Yes.
And realizing that the traumas of, because everyone was were Black women. The traumas of being a Black woman are felt deeply in different ways amongst the crowd.
Yeah.
And with my spouse really being the only one in the conversation,
the only male perspective,
and he wasn't saying too much, because I guess he didn't want the mask to slip. But
I think what he did say brought some insight.
It did. I was going to say, he didn't say too much.
Yeah.
He said enough to keep a conversation kind of percolating. But I felt like I wish that he would have said something, especially when the cousin had mentioned, like, when Ruby was talking about why can't women just, he did kind of say a little bit. Well, she was like, why men can be like, I don't like you, or can cut you off, you're just not my type, and be done with it. But women can't do that.
We're like, society tells us that we have to settle,
right,
or else we're gonna be single. And it's something like, that's a negative. Like,
right,
God forbid you be single, you never find anybody, so you know your standards are too high. You just do that, but like
all of the things,
guys don't get that same feedback.
And the thing is, and I think we've realized, that they don't need the feedback because they are the men, right? But we'll hear behind it, oh, that man gonna be single all his life, but he's still going to have different women. Yeah, he may not be in a relationship, but he's still going to have all of the things. He can be promiscuous and that's not a problem. A woman saying that, it's like, but then that means that you're going to be a cobweb. It's going to be cobwebs down there, because when you say he's not my type and move on, you're moving on to then find your type. Now moving on to also be promiscuous,
right,
and do your thing,
right.
And so when they say you're gonna die alone, the thought never really crosses their mind, like, but she's still gonna go out here and date and get knocked down and knock other people down and ride a horse and do all the things. It's always I think that that's becomes it's still very taboo. Like, women should not just be out here.
It absolutely is
enjoying. So, but and even we all said the realization is men realize that, like, I just might not be with somebody, and they be cool with it. Women be like, well, why I can't be like that and still not be cool with not being with somebody? Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too either.
Yeah.
So if you know, okay, if I'm just like, this person not my type, this person and you won't go about your business, you have to mourn the fact that your life is not going to look like the ideal, because the thing is, underneath all of that, I want to be able to also think and do like a guy. You want the relationship,
right? It's you kind of have to have a bit of a balance, right? There has to be, like, I'm not saying let go of that desire to want the relationship, but you also have to be good with if I'm making these decisions and if I'm standing my ground and if I'm not bending on my standards, it may not come. And it's weird to say, like, to still desire something but also accept that it may not come. It's almost like an oxymoron saying that, but that is the reality of it. You know, I'm not going to lower my standards. This is what I'm looking for. If I don't get this, then I don't want it. Then you have to be okay with you may not get it.
Right. And one thing I was watching, it was not Chico Bean, it's the other dude that Chico Bean be with, the dark skinned dude.
I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about.
And he said, and this is not the first person that said that. And he was like, when people can accept what you may be attracted to ain't attracted to you, will be the day that people can just, like somebody else said, like the people that like you.
That's hard. And this is coming from somebody who I have not, okay, I'm just going to say this. I have not ever dated the type of guys I was attracted to. Like, the type of guys I'm attracted to, even though I go through, like, phases of what I'm attracted to, they never like me back. Like, when I was in high school, I was so pressed for light skin. Like, light skin, pretty eyes. Everybody was into that. I was into that. Them light skin boys. Not everybody. Them light skin boys did not like me. I couldn't get one. It was the chocolate ones that was on me. And I dated them, but, like, that wasn't at the time what my type was. Then I went from that to, like, I don't really care about skin color anymore. Like, you could be light, dark, whatever. But then I liked more, like, muscular guys. It was skinny guys that wanted me. It was the bony ones that wanted me. And the muscular guys was not checking for me. And so I would date the skinny guys because that's what, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you saying, like what likes you. I'm saying I ended up in relationship with those people that like me because those were the people that were giving me the attention. And I accepted the fact that, I guess, I'm not going to say I lowered my standards, but I relaxed my standards because I was accepting the fact that while this person may not be my physical type, they're showing me attention. They're treating me nice. They're doing all the other things. And so I was able to do that. But I think from my own experience, at least I'll say it's not easy. It's not easy. You know what you like. You know what you're attracted to. You know what you see. And that person don't reciprocate it. And it's like, dang, like, you know what I mean? But it just...
But that's the thing.
That's a part of life. And you got to accept it.
It's a hard pill to swallow, but I have to then remember there are people that be trying to get with me that I will never get the time of day.
Absolutely.
So if I'm like that,
right?
Why wouldn't somebody else be like that? Now they get to know a sister. They all want to be my friend.
And I also too learn when it comes to your physical type. That can, at least for me, that can change, and people change. Because, like, my husband, when we first met, he didn't look physically how he looks now. Like, Now he looks like more of my type. When we first met, he didn't. So, but that didn't stop me from, you know what I'm saying, seeing that, oh, okay, this person, you know, yeah, we got a little connection. So, if I had just went off of like, oh, you're not my type,
and one about my day,
I feel like I would have missed out because, like,
well, that's what
things
what
change.
He was saying. Not Chico Bean, but Chico Bean friend.
Yeah.
You gotta start. I guess we have to. Sometimes you have to take a step from the clouds and come down to the realities of who, not just like who likes you, who sees me, who's seeing me for me and not me for what they want me to be.
Yeah.
And so that's the other thing. Like, we want. It's just like we as people want all of the things without the hurt behind it, or without the work behind it. So like the work on yourself, like, okay, yeah, I don't think this guy, you have to be somewhat attracted to who you like, because if I'm choosing you every day, I got to like the choice that I'm making.
Yeah. And
so, but I also want to make the choice that that same person's going to also choose me, and I'm not a placeholder for somebody else. So you have to, if you know that man going to drink your dirty bath water, I ain't saying that's the one you're going to marry, but it also allows you both to figure some things out, because he's looking at you and he might be you might be his 10, and then he realized, but her attitude is not really what I want.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're a bad person, it just don't fit for him. This is the other conversation we were having on our way home, and I had to keep saying, it's no shade to your past relationship. Like, no shade. But
I was wondering if he was feeling some type of way about that.
No. So we talked about, so his sister, we were talking about basically if we really started dating when we first met.
Okay.
And so with me being his type, because that's one, because I'm going to be honest, I don't remember any of the conversations that we had all them times years ago.
Okay.
He remembers everything. I don't. And so he's like, I told you, like, I can't fool with you because I'm going to get you pregnant. And that's just, I'm in a relationship. That's not where I want to be. I'm just now 18. I already know what's going to happen. And so we were talking about, like, what would have happened if that continued or whatever. And I said, well, I will tell you this. I would have had, your siblings would have been up here more. And he was like, they did come up here. I was like, they would have been up here more often.
Yeah.
And I feel like your relationship with your side of the family would be different. And he's like, why do you say that? I said, and it's no shade against anybody. I said, but it's the type of person that I am.
Right.
I said, so in your relationship, we went down this whole rabbit hole of things, but this is the outcome of it. I said, in every relationship, somebody could be the fuel to your fire, or the water to bring you down. And so I said, if you telling me you having an issue with your mom, or you're having an issue with your like if you're having an issue, and I'm like, yeah, that's fucked up, but it's not worth this, or it's not worth that. Or if you have somebody that's like, yeah, and that's fucked up that they did this, and that's messed up that they did that. So now she's adding to pissing you off.
Yes.
And if I'm like, it's not, if they didn't have it, or she needed it and she needed to take it, we know we can replace it. We just know moving forward, sit her down and let's just have a conversation.
Right.
And I said, you would approach it differently. I said, and there's no shade against her. It's just the dynamic of your relationship.
Absolutely.
I said, for me, I said, because I was like, with me having siblings, she's like, well, she has siblings. I said, I'm the baby of my siblings, and I'm always trying to hold my family together.
Right.
Let's do this together. Let's do that. I'm doing that. If that's not the same type of person, it's no shade against how they are. Both my parents are still married. I see what a functioning relationship looks like. I see when my father gets irritated and how my mother can calm. You know what I'm saying? So I said, so when you don't necessarily come from that, you know how to continue an argument going. sometimes you haven't learned how to stop it or what it looks like after the argument is done.
Or even just having two different perspectives and supporting your person in two different ways.
Right.
Because just like you said, it's if my partner is pissed about something, I could get pissed with him and be like, yeah, fuck that shit. We gonna fight together. Or I could offer a different perspective and be like, well, I understand you pissed, babe, but like maybe this is
the problem. This is what happened.
Or maybe we can talk to him. Right. Or maybe we can. It's the personality of the person,
and that's what we were basically talking about. And I was just like, it's no shade again. And so again, having to reiterate it, and finally he was. I think
it clicked.
The biggest thing that we kept talking about, safe space.
Right.
Like this is still a safe space. Like I'm not going. Like don't be defensive. Like I'm going on you.
Right.
Or going on your past relationship. I just know who I said. And then also have to remember, you all didn't have children.
Right.
Already had kids.
Right.
So they would have been. I said, and then they would have been. Because Justin would have been 20. His sister just turned 21 this year. So she would have been in the same age range as Justin. So having her come up, by that time, if we had Jayla around the same, Jayla and his brother are basically the same age. So would have had them come. I said, so because I already had children around that same age range, it would have just made sense. Oh, you got siblings? We'll just bring them up. We can help. We can, whatever. And so finally he was like, all right, I can understand what you're saying. But I bring all of that up to say one of the conversations, which I just kind of alluded to, was men not being able to have these conversations because they don't feel like they're in a safe space where they could be vulnerable. And so the biggest thing for women that we started having that we need to do, and this is kind of what I was saying to Ruby without saying it, we have to fall on the sword first to say that, yeah, it may hurt to fall on it, but it's not a problem. Right. We can still be in this while we on this sword. It may hurt that we've fallen on it, but we're still in this and willing to have this conversation. So then when he falls on that sword, you're both able to be vulnerable. You can bleed out a little bit and know that I still got you in this space. And
it sucks that we do have to always make the first move when it comes to like opening that door up for vulnerability, because like that's a lot of responsibility on the woman. You know what I mean? Like, damn, you're so hard that you're never gonna be the one to kind of break that seal and start opening up. I'm always gonna have to be the one to do that. That's a lot of responsibility.
And I think, you know what, just now talking, because I'm very much so, I let my boys cry and I say, feel your feelings, go ahead and let it out, this, that, and the fourth. I'm realizing that it needs to be him that does that. To say, hey man, cry, so that when he is ready to have a conversation and that girl like, why are you doing that? Well, you have another man that also does the same thing, so it's not taboo. And you can say, my father cried all this, like, this is not taboo for me. Like, this is not a problem for me. This is how my family operates. But maybe if they don't have a man and a woman start looking at them crazy, like, oh, well, maybe my mom only did that because she's my mother. My grandmother only did that because she's my grandmother,
or because she's a woman. It's okay for women to do it. It's not okay for men to do it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, like, if you have a spouse in a relationship who's not used to it, and she's like, well, you better suck that up. What you crying for? I don't want no crying ass man. Men may say, well, my mother allowed me to do this, and maybe because she was my mom. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so this is not the norm. Yeah. And it really is so the
now
norm.
She doesn't understand. They start retreating because
you make them
now
feel gone through this. But it's your first relationship.
That is the opposite of it being a safe space.
That's what I mean. And we're not having these spaces to allow men, and we have to fall on that sword to say, hey, it's okay. Yeah. And stop making this taboo. So anyway, we had some really, I wish we did have that camera going, because the conversations were.
But you know what I thought about later? It's not, we do a podcast, right? But we also have a life outside of that. Yeah. And not every moment is a recordable moment. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, having conversation with our friends just because it was a good conversation,
like that, a safe space to them.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they want the camera on them.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Even though we're like, this is content.
This is good. And I say that only because y'all don't be jumping in them comments.
That's true.
We need the feedback. But it was a really good conversation. So hopefully this will be some conversation starters for you all for the holidays.
So I think, is November Men's Mental Health Month? I was trying to look it up. I think it is. It is. November is the month of mental health awareness that includes men's mental health awareness, early childhood mental health awareness, and international stress awareness. So basically, I was just looking that up to say, because we were talking about safe space for men and they're not allowed to be vulnerable. I also, with it being, still the last couple of days of November, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, I do think it's important for us to create those safe spaces. And I know we hear that a lot. And so I just want to kind of reiterate what you said. Like, saying that this is a safe space means to actually make it a safe space.
Yeah.
You can't say this is a safe space and then say, you're a bitch ass nigga, you're a punk, you whatever.
Right,
like,
right.
And I feel like as women sometimes,
and don't go back to your girlfriends and say it either.
Right. And I feel like as women sometimes we will do that. Like, we'll say it's a safe space, but then like, as soon as he does something, then it's like,
and if he does something to offend you,
now all of a sudden is
toss that ball back to make him
like,
feel a certain kind of way.
That's the opposite of a safe space.
Right.
And not for nothing, but even if the relationship that you're in seems like it may not be working, that don't mean fuck it up for the next person. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this, you know what I'm saying? I don't care about him. I'm going to say whatever because I'm done with his ass. Okay, but then
somebody else have to reap what you have sown.
Exactly.
And I'm going to tell you something. That shit sucks.
Yeah. Because now you're closed up. Because as a man, you have hardened up for the next woman, and he may still have some things that he needs to work on, but we can't even get to the meat because you done got this shell.
You a boy? You ain't. I can't boil the crab. I don't want to gotta boil the crab. Jesus.
So
y'all don't be. Yeah, we. Especially men. So the sensitivity.
They be super sensitive. But I also think while we on the topic of men's mental health, this was another thing that came up. I also think that there's a lot more men with these undiagnosed
spectrum.
Yeah, mental health issues that are wreaking havoc within the community. And I'm just going to speak for Black men, because now that we're learning a lot more about the spectrum of autism, ADHD, ADD, depression, anxiety, social anxiety, like all these different things that we're learning about now, I bet you could probably go back to some of your past relationships and think about how things happen and what patterns that exhibit. And I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying because it goes so undiagnosed, I'm pretty sure all of us have had one or two that we could be like, oh, you were showing signs of this. But because we didn't know what it was, we weren't real educated about it, our Black men Black boys don't get diagnosed. Right. You go your whole life masking or using your coping mechanisms, and then you get in a relationship and we come away from it saying like, he don't know how to communicate. He's a bad communicator. Or he blows up after everything. He got a temper problem. Could it be that he's on the spectrum and maybe he just didn't know how to control his emotions? And nobody ever addressed it.
Right.
And so, now at 30, he do got an anger problem.
And that's the thing. This is what people don't realize. And they say this with kids. A lot of women go undiagnosed because we are high functioning.
Yes.
When it comes to that. And we'll throw our stuff into work. We'll throw our stuff into getting better and better at this. A lot of men, their stuff becomes, and this is
generalizing.
But yes, low functioning where everything is emotional.
Yes.
Where they're abusive. Or where they're,
and it comes out in rage.
Anger and rage because they can't get across what they're trying to say.
Right.
With women, it comes out in hyper independence.
Yeah. Or overthinking.
Yes.
Which can turn into, now you're being intellectual, but really I'm fixating on something, right? And just us not being able to identify it and not knowing what it is.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring attention to that too. Like, a lot of us are on the spectrum. We could be advanced on the spectrum, or maybe just a little bit on the spectrum, but we are, and some of these issues comes from the result of that. The result of never being able to regulate or knowing how to regulate your emotions, having really big emotions, hyper fixating on things, over processing things, or focusing, like you were saying, focusing on just the black and white, focusing on pattern recognition, calling those things out, not reading social cues. All of that can translate into issues that you're having within a relationship, but we will dumb it down and say, oh, he was just immature, or oh, he just ain't know how to talk to people. And it's like, well, maybe it was more to it than that.
It's more to it than that. But yeah, so we hope that we've given you guys some topics to talk about at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Don't fight though.
Yeah.
This is a glass of wine. Cousins.
Yeah.
We're hanging out. Let's chit chat. Let's talk about some things, and making it so that maybe starting off with family as it being a vulnerable, a safe space. Thank you, with family, and then knowing that, hey, you can always come talk to me. And the women in your family allowing that, like, come talk to me, bro. What's going on?
Oh yeah.
Men in your family, hey, let's talk. What's going on? Let's have a conversation so that we can also know if there's any traumas that we've caused.
Yep.
On all sides. So,
was that another great episode?
It was another great episode.
Guys, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification button, tell a friend to tell a friend,
and try this M Minuty. Yeah, whatever. I said it at the top of the hour. Y'all know what it is. And with that,
we'll drink to that.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.